So personality development or personal development improves the values that we hold. That flows through into the desires that we entertain, into the emotions that we experience, and to the actions that we perform. We're able to live in harmony with circumstances. When you have a child who's young, say 6 years old, there's a level of understanding of how the world works, and there's a level of personal desire, there are attitudes. When that 6-year-old bumps up against the world in a particular way, there's frustration. Why? Because that worldview, the set of beliefs about what the world is like, they are at, say, 6-year-old level. When that 6-year-old has to, say, share things with her siblings or her classmates, there may be a resistance because there is this belief that the world is sort of designed to cater to me. When the child begins to recognize that just as I want things, so does that person. He wants things. And we want the same thing, and we can't both have the same thing. There's an understanding that is more sophisticated. It's more complex. So we have to find some way to manage it. Let's share it. I'll have it, then you have some, whatever. So what's happening here? There's an updating of an understanding of how the world works and what is an appropriate way to be in harmony with it. This is your personal development. You are improving the quality of your layers. When you go from, say, being a teenager to an adult, you still fully identify with the layers. I am my desires for inclusion in this new group. That's my main focus. You grow up into an adult, you recognize that's good, but there are much more important things in life. So you go into the creation of material wealth and responsibility and giving back. That now becomes your main interest. But in both cases, you are identified fully with those values and those desires. They are me. Spiritual development is to remain with whatever layers you happen to be, whatever level of development they are, but to identify less with them. Spiritual development reduces your identification with the layers. The kind of happiness that we talk about that comes with spiritual development, this kind of satisfaction, spiritual satisfaction, doesn't fluctuate with changing circumstances. And so it requires a bit of a broadening or a deepening of our understanding of the word happiness. You can be spiritually happy while your body is in discomfort and while your mind is in distress. These are to the nature of material equipments. Body goes through pain, mind goes through joy and sorrow. I reside back here like one unconcerned. If you like, enjoying the grief, enjoying the pain. Now, enjoying again is in inverted commas here. And it's important that we are working on both. If we force our spiritual development without focusing on our personality development, then we become disconnected from the world and disconnected from our obligations. We're still children in a particular way. The mere fact that a person has high spiritual development doesn't necessarily mean that they have personality development. And if we get that person to guide us, because they are very free in their own minds from the constraints of the material equipments, they may give us terrible advice because they're looking at it from a teenager's point of view, or they're looking at it from a mindset of their particular environment or their particular culture. There hasn't been personality development enough to realize that my culture is just one way of looking at the world. There are multiple ways of looking at the world, and my culture has stuff wrong with it and stuff right with it. And if I try and put my culture onto them, it's going to be terrible advice. That requires personality development. And you can find narcissism in the spiritually evolved. You wouldn't go to ask for advice around, how do I untangle this complex situation in my family? What role should I take up in life? I have these different options, etc. You wouldn't do that because you recognize that he doesn't have the gross intellectual development for it. There is high spiritual development, but less personality development. you go to someone else for your advice around how to manage your world. So it is important that we recognize that while related, these two things are different.